Hello and welcome to Link Ahead, the City of Dublin podcast. Well, if we own the rights to MC Hammers, you can't touch this. We'd play it now because guess what, Lindsay? It's hammer time.
Is that why you're wearing those pants?
Exactly. You weren't supposed to talk about those on air. Director of Engineering, Paul Hammersmith, welcome back to Link Ahead.
Hey, thank you for having me, Bruce and Lindsay.
Yeah, welcome back. And you know, my favorite part about having Paul here is it means it must be spring.
Yeah,
Spring's right around the corner. And I want to act like this was on purpose, but I think it was actually a coincidence. It's National Engineers Week.
It is.
So congratulations.
Go out and hug your engineer.
How about a fist bump? Let's go for that.
There we go. Fist bumps.
All right. Well, 2025 is shaping up to be a busy year. I don't think we have a different kind of year in Dublin. In fact, one project is already getting underway, and this one's been years in the making, Paul. We are talking about a new roundabout, some safety improvements coming to Avery, Rings, Cara roads. Let's start there. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, it's a interim roundabout, as we call it, and it's meant to really just improve safety and efficiency at the intersection itself. It's been several years in the making, only because it's somewhat complicated in terms of the layout. There was quite a bit of land acquisition that had to happen as a result of the roundabout, and then many utilities were in the way of where the proposed roundabout is going to go. So we're finally going to construction starting very soon, the end of this month, first of next month, with sanitary sewer and storm sewer installations. And then also as part of the project, there are pedestrian facilities in terms of sidewalks on Cara Road, Cara Court, and in a new shared use path along the east side of Avery Road going up to a pedestrian bridge over Kramer Crossing and linking up to Rings Road East, and completes our network down in that area. So quite a bit going on.
Wow. Well, with the growth along Avery Road, I think this is going to be, a really great improvement for people who are driving, and the residents are just going to love the sidewalks and the paths, right?
Absolutely. And just the connectivity alone in terms of the pedestrian facilities will be fantastic down in that area. We've got Kaltenbach Park right there that we'll be able to have access to. And in terms of the safety improvements themselves with vehicles, just as you know, in peak hours down there, the turning movements are somewhat treacherous, and having this new improvement with the roundabout will certainly sort all that out, make it much safer for folks traveling the area.
Well, that was my daughter and I would carpool, and she was a camp counselor out of Kaltenbach, and trying to get in there at certain times, forget about it.
Very difficult.
Very difficult. All right, Paul, talk about the traffic flow and the safety of roundabouts in general.
So as we know, roundabouts tend to reduce accidents in terms of about 35%, and then severity and injury accidents by about 75%. So much, much safer, slower speeds, less conflict points. You only have to look to the left to know who you're going to possibly conflict with. So that's been a huge advantage of the roundabout.
I love that piece. Someone mentioned that you just have to look one direction to the left, and people thought about that. Yeah, shouldn't be anyone coming from the right.
Yield to the left. Not that hard.
I've heard states like Virginia and New York have adopted roundabout first initiatives, where roundabouts are considered the first choice for new intersections and reworking old ones. Any talk of that in Ohio? Because I can start that petition, actually.
Not that I know of yet, but I will tell you for Dublin, we always look at the roundabout as our first alternative for intersection improvement. And if for whatever reason it doesn't work, then we fall back to a signal, a traffic signal. The roundabout's not the solution for every location, but certainly our preferred solution. But there are situations where a traffic signal can be a better solution and also be quicker. For instance, we're just getting ready to start construction on a project out at Highland Crow Road and Cascio Lane, put up a new traffic signal. And that's a situation where, yes, a roundabout would have been nice there, but a traffic signal will serve well for what's needed.
Well, you talked about all the things that are coming with this roundabout. Is there something in this roundabout that you didn't encounter with any other?
Probably unique to this roundabout during construction is we're going to raise the intersection probably 5 or 6 feet. You really won't know it once it's done, but if you go out there today, it's relatively flat. And in order to get the roundabout to drain, we've got to do quite a bit of dirt work out there, which was another complication of the project. And then the other is it's not going to be a single lane. It's not going to be a multi-lane. It's going to be a hybrid. So going northbound on Avery Road, we'll have 2 lanes. Going southbound on Avery Road, we'll have 1 through lane. We'll have a dedicated right turn lane on Rings Road West. So that will be somewhat unique to the design, which we tend to do with a lot of our roundabouts. We fit them for the situation and the traffic flow present at that intersection.
Well, you talked about it. The dirt is getting moving. So give us the timeline on this project and any traffic impacts or anything else we need to know.
Yes, we're going to start end of this month, first of next month. We've already had the pre-construction meeting. The first work's going to be sanitary sewer and storm sewer installation. There is going to be a 5-month closure of Rings Road starting in April. So that Rings Road west of the intersection. And then once that work's complete, we'll have a follow up by a 2-month closure on Avery Road.
Can we do a quick aside? And this is not scripted, but Rings Road is a weird road, right? Do
It
you
is.
have any background on that? Like it jaunts up, it jaunts.
No, we call it Jog Road.
Jog Road.
So it's not just me.
No, it's like Rings Road East, Rings Road West. And it's like, it doesn't go west. It's like, if you go about a quarter mile to the south, it does go west.
All right, Paul, if we stick to the calendar, another big one comes in April when Mount Carmel opens off Emerald Parkway. Now, there's a roundabout there as well. Give us an update here that also includes Bright Road.
Okay. Well, the roundabout itself was finished last year. The Emerald Parkway, Mount Carmel roundabout is what we call it. And it's at their main entrance to the hospital. And then the project's gone somewhat dormant over the winter, but we're working on Bright Road, finishing those improvements. And then the last big portion of the work is going to be on Sawmill Road. So we're making improvements there. There will be 2 northbound left turn lanes on the Bright Road, on Sawmill Road itself. And then on Sawmill Road southbound, we'll have a dedicated right onto Bright Road going west.
Now, when you start working on Sawmill, is it like, you're working with Columbus, you're working with other people? How does that usually go down?
Yeah, everything was coordinated with the city of Columbus since that road's in their jurisdiction. And part of the work is going to include traffic signal modifications both at Bright Road and Billingsley Road. So that had to be worked out with the city of Columbus.
Okay, another big one, and I know it kind of feels like forever since the orange barrels went up at US 33 161 Post Road interchange. This is an ODOT project that we are partnering with them on that, and it's actually wrapping up, right? So what's the timeline? What's left?
The last piece of the work is doing all final pavement starting this spring. Once again, the project's been sitting dormant for the most part over the winter. There's been some work going on, but final asphalt will go down. The final ramp configurations will be put in place. I mean, although all movements are open right now, there are some temporary connections to the ramps to provide for those movements. And then the last piece of the project will be all the pavement striping that'll be done, and then the final landscaping, and that'll be in spring of this year, with the hopes that by the end of summer, the project is 98% complete.
Wow. All right, let's tick through a few other projects, Paul. Eiderman Road relocation.
That project is just getting ready to start construction. That's going to be, redirecting Eiderman Road up through the Ohio University campus, consistent with their framework plan, consistent with Envision Dublin that we just finished up last year. It will have nice finishes to it. It's going to be concrete curb, but there will be some brick work with the project itself. A new roundabout out there as the road kind of redirects west and then heads north up through the campus.
All right, South High Street Utility Burial Phase 2.
Phase 2. So the final phase, of course, there's only 2 phases. But this is the smaller of the 2 phases. The first phase really finished up last year with all the telecommunication companies relocating underground. And this year, it's going to be over on the east side of the area, which is east of South High Street along Blacksmith Lane. We're going to get finally all the telecoms and everything relocated, serving those properties to the east. And then at the end of this second phase, which is going to start construction probably late spring, early summer of this year, we will finally be able to remove all the overhead utility lines along South High Street.
Wow.
So that the ultimate goal of the project, which is always that, to improve the aesthetics of South High Street, will finally be accomplished, hopefully by the end of this year.
That's going to look so nice.
That is going to look nice.
And this project started in 2018.
Really?
It did.
Paul was just an intern.
Yeah,
I was.
Back when
Very
we
young.
started.
It's classic.
Yep.
All right, Paul. Riverview Village improvements.
Yeah, that's another great project, working cooperatively with the Cohatch headquarters that are supposed to be located over there, improving North Street, North Blacksmith Lane, North Riverview Street, high-end finishes with brick pavers, granite curb. It's really going to not only improve the area, but really change the character of the area over there, consistent with the development that's occurring around the area.
With such a different like elevation, how does that complicate projects like that?
It complicates it in terms of pedestrian facilities and trying to make access for folks that are going to be using the area, especially folks that are disabled and might not be able to traverse the area as easily. And we're trying to make the best accommodations we can, but you can't always just correct every physical characteristic of an area and make it accessible, but we do the best we can.
All right, I'm watching our producer Scott over there to see him perk up because he loves our shared use paths.
Oh, good.
And we are
Yay, Scott.
adding some this year, right? So Riverside Drive West, more shared use path.
Correct. Yes, along the west side of Riverside Drive from Emerald Parkway going north up to the Dublin Arts Council will be a new shared use path. We're working right now with AEP to get some electric facilities moved. There is also going to be a pedestrian bridge over Billingsley Creek that goes underneath Riverside Drive. It's a rather long bridge. I think it's about 100 feet long. So that's on order presently, and we'll get.
Where do you order a bridge?
You get on Amazon. And you search pedestrian
Is that a
bridges.
2-day delivery?
Yes.
We're not sending that overnight, Lindsay.
Putting that on your front porch, and
Yeah.
how do I get it off of there? There's different companies that actually fabricate them.
Okay.
We've used several different ones, but
You didn't know about this?
You
Chris?
had me at Amazon.
Back to Riverside Drive, shared use path. Do we pretty much have shared use path up and down that whole road, or what's the master plan for that?
we finished on the east side, section 1 of what we call the Riverside Drive shared use path east. And obviously, we just talked about the one on the west. And then we are working on plans to continue to go further north. So right now, we're up to about Hard Road with a continuous path all the way from Emerald Parkway up to Hard Road. There's a segment that goes north of Hard Road, but it stops probably in the Tonti Drive area. And then we're working on plans right now to go further north all the way up to Summit View Road.
Let's talk about tunnel maintenance. Not the most, fancy project in the world, but it needs to be done. So what's going on
Have you
with that?
seen our tunnels? They are
I
actually
know.
quite
I know.
fancy.
As I started saying
They're
that,
You
like
just
mosaics.
insulted our tunnels.
I know.
Some of them have mosaics in them,
You're right.
and
You're
I
right.
mean all that.
So tunnel maintenance this year will be a tunnel beneath Memorial Drive at Balmoral Drive. We're going to put on new head walls at that tunnel, fix up the interior, kind of give just a makeover because that tunnel is probably 35 to 40 years old.
Wow.
And then we're headed down to Dublin Road at Emerald Parkway. It's actually the tunnel that goes underneath Emerald Parkway, just on the west side of Dublin Road. That's the one with the mosaics.
Yeah.
So we're going to seal up some joints there, do some repairs. Again, just kind of a makeover of that tunnel, and then head north at River Forest, and again beneath Dublin Road, and again do some maintenance there and fix up joints. Repair the facade up there, and that tunnel was built in 2005, so coming up on 20 years old, so it's
Wow.
time for a little attention.
There you go.
When we talk about that, it's not just about building new shiny things here in Dublin. We have to maintain what we have. So maintaining the tunnels. We also have our street maintenance program, which is honestly one of the best things we do around here. I don't think there's another community that takes such good care of their streets. And these are in residential areas. So we always have to communicate with the residents. This is what's happening. But then once we move out, it looks nice. Enjoy your new roadway. So tell us a little bit about what's going on this year with street maintenance.
This year, the significant roadways that we're going to be working on would be Warner Temple Road from Emerald Parkway all the way into Ballantrae, the roundabout that's in Ballantrae Place. That's going to get completely reworked. We're going on Rings Road west of the intersection improvement we're doing, and then reworking that roadway. Summit View Road, west of Sawmill Road, we're also going to be fixing up. And then some patchwork on Riverside Drive. So we got quite a bit involved in our street maintenance program this year, and just over $6 million worth of work. And kind of as an interesting side note, I was at a conference last week about asphalt paving, and the city engineer for Dayton got up and spoke, and he said, well, this year we're going to do $7 million in street resurfacing for the city of Dayton. And we here spend upwards of $7 million on street maintenance every year. So
Incredible.
comparatively to your point,
Right.
we really do a great job of maintaining our roadways.
All right. Well, alongside our roads right now and in our neighborhoods, our residents have likely seen crews digging and planting fiber optic cables. Let's talk about altafiber and progress there. Things have paused a bit through the winter weather, but things will pick back up next month or so, right?
Correct. Yeah, we've taken a little bit of a break over the winter, and then, phase two will start up probably end of March, beginning of April this year, with the second portion of the work to bury conduit and fiber optic cable throughout the community. I believe Altafiber is hopeful to have the majority of the project finished by the end of this year, but we'll see how that goes. But they've made great progress in 2024.
All right, so more than 42% of households now have access to fiber network. Well, that you said that more than half of our residents are still to go. So talk about what they can expect.
Pretty much the same as what happened in 2024, and the process really isn't much different. Altafiber comes in and they submit plans to us for review to get a right-of-way permit. Once that right-of-way permit's approved, they have subcontractors that are drilling companies that call in utility locates. So the first thing residents will see is marking flags out on their property, marking where telecommunications lines are, gas lines, electric lines, all that. Once they're all marked, then the drilling company comes in, drills in conduit that goes beneath the ground, obviously. And then once that's complete, then Altafiber comes back and runs the fiber optic cable itself, and then all the connection points, which are the FDHs, fiber distribution hubs, that you'll see as the pedestals throughout neighborhoods. And then the last most important piece of the project for residents, I think, is all the restoration to come back and place topsoil, seed and straw, make sure that the area looks the same as it did, if not better than when they showed up.
Well, Paul, you mentioned utility flags, and I don't think I've gotten so many phone calls about anything in my life. People are always curious about these utility flags. And first of all, those are there for resident safety, right? So you talked about when a project is starting, all the utilities, Columbia Gas, AEP, they come out and mark their utilities. And then those flags are there for what, a couple days, couple weeks? When can I take them out and start mowing my lawn? Those are the kind of questions people have.
Yeah, those are great questions. The flags go in typically 48 to 72 hours before the work is going to commence and take place. And then the contractor that called in to locate has what they call a ticket through the Ohio Utility Protection Service that documents that, one, they made the request, two, that the flags got placed and everything was marked. Once they're marked, then the contractor can perform their work. And then after that work's complete, we've really asked the contractors to remove the flags so that people don't take it upon themselves to remove them, because they are there for not only resident safety, but for the safety of the contractor and the safety of the utility. And the last thing any drilling contractor wants to do is hit somebody else's facility, because that just necessitates a repair, a shutdown of the project, a lot of complications. And the other thing to note with residents is that if they are going to mow, don't take the flags out and then try and put them back.
You're not going to get it right.
Yeah, exactly. They really need to be pretty exact in terms of their location. So if they have to remove them, that's fine. Let the contractor know that's in the area, and they will call in and get them replaced. But yeah, don't try and put them back on where you thought they were.
And if they're out there mowing now here in February, I'm going to be pretty, impressed.
I would be too. They got great lawn treatment then.
Paul, can you talk about the importance of this project from a leadership standpoint, in that many cities don't take on this kind of ambitious goal to future-proof itself with the latest in fiber optic technology?
Yeah, I think it's just us being on the forefront of innovation and technology in Dublin and making sure that our residents have access to that same technology and certainly internet speeds. And I've not yet to hear of another community that's taken on this sort of initiative, partnering up with a private company to provide fiber optic, service to their community. And I'm saying the entire community. I mean, that's our goal, is that fiber to every home.
If someone would have told intern Paul Hammersmith that this project would come down the pipe, how would you have answered?
I was like, yeah, we got other things. No, we're not likely. You wouldn't think that we would take it on. But it's been a very hands-on, in-your-face project in terms of resident interaction, because it's just a lot, as Lindsay said, a lot of questions come with, hey, what's going on? What's this entail? How's this going to be done? So a lot of inquisitive residents about it, which is great. And I think we've really tried hard to communicate that out to the community?
Yes, exactly. So now I can plug Bruce's website. So
Our website.
DublinOhioUSA.gov/most-connected. You'll find all the information about that project, updates, street by street progress maps, what to expect if they're coming to your house this year. So check it out.
Paul, we're just running the gamut with you. So let's switch it up yet again and talk about water. So the City of Columbus Department of Public Utilities is building the Home Road Water Plant and transmission mains to prepare for the growing need for clean, safe drinking water across Central Ohio. These are needed improvements. So what's coming with this project?
What's coming is transmission mains coming through Dublin from north to south. So from the Home Road Water Treatment Plant that has yet to start construction, but probably will start construction in 2026. There are going to be two 48-inch diameter transmission mains that come from that location south and ultimately through Dublin and then end or stop at the Blazer Road or Blazer Parkway water tank.
Well, not a stretch at all to talk about how fortunate we are with water holistically here in Ohio. I mean, Western states are fighting over every drop of the Colorado River. And of course, we saw the devastation from wildfires in California, where there's a need not just for more water, but improved water infrastructure. So whereas new pipes and infrastructure may not be the sexiest of topics, they are vital to public safety and economic development, right, Paul?
Most people don't realize our water system is actually sized for fire protection first and then domestic use second.
Really?
So yeah, because the most demanding service on our water distribution system are fire flows, which can be up to 2,000 gallons per minute out of a fire hydrant. So again, that's how we size the system, and also our water storage tanks. Our probably second most demanding use is in the summer with irrigation. And then last would be the domestic use, which is the water we drink every day.
All right, so the pipes are 48 inches. That doesn't seem like a lot. So how does that service like what needs to be serviced?
It's conveying all the water produced at the plant itself in the Columbus system. So they're basically pushing it from north to south. And then just this year, or actually 2024, there was a 30-inch water transmission main completed to the south of the Blazer Parkway tank, connecting down along Dublin Road into areas further south of Dublin. So it's really the city of Columbus building their network and providing an avenue, so to speak, to transport the water from the plant into their system.
Well, and everybody wants clean, safe water, right? And so, this is just helping us meet our current needs and future needs. And residents will be hearing a lot more about that over the next year or two, because it's still a couple years out before we get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Construction most likely end of 26, really starting in the 2027 for the project itself. And one thing I think we ought to do is give City of Columbus a lot of credit for their planning for water supply, because if it weren't for the water supply and the planning that they've done over the last 20 years, and City of Columbus being our water provider, has really provided great service to the city of Dublin and its residents, and that we don't have to worry about the supply of water the way the folks out west do.
Well, Paul, we have certainly tested your knowledge for big projects of the city. I think we nailed them all. Now it's time to get into your brain and firing with rapid fire questions. You look really excited. Okay.
I got a brain?
First question. What made you choose a career in engineering?
Actually, that's a pretty simple question. It all started in my sandbox out in my backyard when I was about 5 or 6. And I had a whole fleet of Tonka trucks, a couple of which are in my office to this day.
That is awesome.
And I would actually take tinfoil and build reservoirs. And my dad had some old water pipe that he would let me use. And so I'd build piping systems. And,
oh my God.
And I even got into environmental remediation because we had outdoor cats that would use the sandbox for a litter box. So I got to do some
that is awesome.
Environmental work. But that's what started. And then ultimately in civil engineering, I had a brother-in-law who was a civil engineer. I always liked math and science in high school, and he introduced me to civil engineering, and it just stuck, and that's how I ended up in the profession.
Now I'm curious how you answer this. If you went back to college today, would you still major in engineering?
And the answer would be yes. I'm very mechanical. My dad was auto mechanic. I'm surprised sometimes that I didn't go into mechanical engineering, but I really do like civil engineering, and I tell a lot of folks this, that when I got into Ohio State, I didn't have a plan B, C, or D. It was pretty much, engineering, or I didn't really know what I was going to do if it didn't work out. So Luckily it did, and I got to the other side, and it's been great ever since.
Sticking with the engineering theme, finish this sentence. More than anything else, engineers are...
Problem solvers.
I'll agree with that.
Great answer. Okay, some hard choices here, Paul. If you could lead a team of engineers on a new Ferrari model, a new NASA rocket, or a new yacht, which one would you bring? Which one would bring the biggest smile to your face?
Oh, the Ferrari model. Although I don't know what a civil engineer would bring to that, but I'd love to work on it. So it's fun.
I can tell our producer has some engineers in the family with these questions. So, okay, from the Wright brothers to Thomas Edison, Archimedes to Nicholas Otto, what famous engineer would you most like to meet?
I would say Thomas Edison, just because of what he invented and his tenacity and his drive, and the fact that he never gave up in the light of so many people saying, well, this isn't going to work. And ultimately it did.
All right. Like the engineers that Lindsay just mentioned, have you ever invented something or tinkered with an invention that's all your own?
I did at one time when prior to coming to, being a city engineer, I did a lot of bridge inspection, and we had invented some measuring tools for bridge inspection. So that's probably the closest I came to working with somebody else to invent something. But other than that, I can't take claim for anything else that I would call an invention.
I think I know the answer to this, but when people hear your job title, Director of Engineering, what's their most common question or comment?
What type of engineering? And I think another question I get from residents a lot of times who are trying to get help with a particular problem is, I think sometimes they think the city engineer is their engineer.
Oh, you are, Paul.
To come out, design their project and fix it. We do give it a lot of advice and are always glad to guide residents and help them along with any particular problem. But, we're not going to be their engineer to design their project, unfortunately.
I thought it would be, when are you going to pave my road? Or,
I get that question a lot.
Put in the roundabout in my neighborhood.
Yep.
All right. For a young engineering student out there who's maybe never thought about a career in municipal or public sector side, what's your elevator pitch for them to think about it?
My elevator pitch is that I've often said I can't think of another profession in civil engineering where you get to work with the public, solve real problems, in my view, that are affecting people's lives every day. I tell a lot of students that I challenge them to go into the news on a daily basis, and you will typically find a news article or something out in the world that civil engineering is involved in. So the wildfires out in California, water supply, earthquakes, recently in aviation, civil engineers work on airports, have a lot to do with airport design. You name it across the spectrum. Public infrastructure and the decline of public infrastructure, that's all civil engineers that are trying to make those improvements throughout the country. So, and I say in Dublin, there's no better place to practice the craft of engineering or planning than being here in Dublin. And I tell a lot of students that if you really want to have boots on the ground and interact with people and enjoy providing a service to a grateful community, this is the place to do it.
Well, all right. Paul Hammersmith, it is a pleasure, whether we're on Link Ahead talking or down the hallway talking. Thank you for your dedicated service to our city.
No, you're welcome. And thank you. And I always appreciate the opportunity to do this on a daily basis and work with both you and Lindsay and this whole team here. So it's a great place to be.
Thanks for being here, and thanks to our listeners for taking the time to connect with your city. Tune in next time as we continue to explore the many personalities and experiences that make Dublin a thriving place to live, work, and grow.